Roundtable, where you get an honest and thought-provoking discussion about movies that are just coming out or have just been released. I'm Marcus Blake, and I'm with That Nerd Show.
I'm Liz Casanova, and I'm with Café con Cine.
I'm Brendan Smith, also with That Nerd Show.
I'm Daniel Robert Durrett with DriveByMovies.com.
Our next movie is The Dark Tower, based off the Stephen King novels. A movie that had been in development hell for the better part of 10 years, with people like Ron Howard attached to direct and Javier Bardem attached to play the Man in Black. But it's finally out, and we have finally seen it, and we're going to let you know whether you should go see The Dark Tower. My initial thoughts, everybody, it was a fun action movie, very interesting. But if you're a fan of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, I don't know if you're really going to enjoy this movie unless you can let go of the fact that it has Dark Tower in the title. So, I mean, with that, yeah.
I was going to say, I was surprised with how I did enjoy Matthew McConaughey as the devil character, the Man in Black. I do have a problem with the Man in Black. The Man in Black is Johnny Cash.
Okay,
the man that wears black, maybe, or something, but I'm sure that was, you know, how it went word for word in the novel. And I read the novel, it's just so long ago, I don't remember exactly.
Well, Matthew McConaughey being the Man in Black and playing a villain, I was kind of worried about that because he's a great leading man. We've never really seen him as a villain. You know, to me, it was like Harrison Ford being a villain, which he did in that one movie that we all hated, What Lies Beneath, and he's never done it again. But I have to applaud.
Could have been Arnold's Terminator moment, though, at the same time.
Well, and you say,
okay, all right, fair enough.
Javier Bardem, and that's an interesting choice. I would.
Well, you know what? I
like
think
to have seen that.
You know, when they first started doing development on this movie and that got kicked around, No Country for Old Men had just come.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so they looked at it like,
Yeah,
that's the Man in Black right there. And you're.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a great choice.
But
It's
that was
the
good.
indifference, I think, that truly makes a great bad guy. And, you know, I mean, I will admit, for the first 20 minutes, I was fully convinced he was going to break at some point, say, all right, and try to sell me a Lincoln. But, and that might have been hell, I don't know. I've never really owned a Lincoln, so, you know.
That'd be a shame.
Well, I mean, it's nice to see him do something a little bit different that it kind of takes us out of our comfort zone, but like, wow, you did a really great job.
Yeah, he was good. I don't think it was the actors that was the problem. I think it was just that the story was kind of rushed and that it didn't have enough for me. But I've never read the book, so I'm like a little confused about some...
Yeah, if you don't know anything, if you've ever read the books and don't know anything about The Dark Tower, that movie does not do a great job of explaining what's going on.
No.
I mean, they say brevity is the soul of wit, but certainly not the soul of storytelling. It's just... I mean, 90 minutes for The Dark Tower. It's a 7-book series.
You've made an action movie. That's what you've done.
Yeah.
And it was a very entertaining action movie if, like you said at the beginning, it didn't have the Dark Tower's name attached to it.
Right.
But
well, what I know from the movie, just from the movie, there's a good guy who's a gunslinger, and there's a Man in Black who's the devil, and they're trying to find some kid with psychic powers with some weird name that doesn't mean anything.
that somehow, when you strap electrodes to his head, can shoot out a psychic laser
Right.
and destroy a
And
tower
there's
that
parallel
protects the
universes.
entire universe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we know. So you've completely skipped over the mythology of the Dark Tower series, okay, including the fact that there are other parallel universes.
See, that's interesting to me. You're
Right.
giving me
They
the
only-
Cliff Notes version.
Yeah,
With
that
also
they only
reincarnation
slightly
of the
allude to. You know,
Right.
there's how many other worlds out there are we don't know. You know?
Right.
Maybe Stephen King just got really, really crazy baked at some point, and because it is almost the reverse of your cable.
You know, honestly, I think
Or
everybody
satellite dish or
Fair
something.
enough, yeah.
You have a signal going out to kill something instead of the signal coming in to kill something, our own brain cells.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're doing a saga, trilogy, anything, or you plan on doing more than one film, your beginning film is always a little bit kind of longer in explaining and setting up everything.
Fellowship of the Ring.
Right. So, I mean, we don't really know anything, not even through flashbacks. I mean, we get some flashbacks, but all I know is the gunslinger had a dad, and Dad died. That's what I get.
Killed.
Right, and there's a you know.
And Dad was the president from
And
24.
everyone dies.
You know,
I don't you say anything bad about Dennis Haber.
No.
He was awesome.
I'm not saying anything bad
I
about
was
him.
like,
Hey.
woohoo, Dennis Haber.
Dan, we don't say anything bad about Serrano because we don't want the wrath of Joe Boo on this show.
That's right. Or Kiefer Sutherland.
Well, that too.
Te daré mi devoción para siempre poderoso. Te daré mi devoción para siempre
Up your butt, Joe Boo.
Yo, bartender! Joe Boo needs a refill!
Well, there were some
I'll shoot
cool
Joe Boo in the head.
I mean, there were some cool little action moments, and there was certainly a lot of humor that was appreciated because it was, you know, it was pretty good.
Look, I don't think anybody can deny that the action is great. I mean, the choreography that they have and how they did everything. I mean, really, really cool.
Very much so. And some of it reminded me of the gun katas from Equilibrium.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
There were some really nice scenes, but I just think there wasn't nearly enough meat on the bones.
No.
There wasn't enough character development. There wasn't enough storyline.
Yeah.
And it, you know, like it was a really fun 90-minute shoot 'em up movie. But I've already seen Shoot 'em Up. Clive Owen did a great job with that. It was a bad movie, but it was a fun shoot 'em up movie. We didn't need a fun shoot 'em up movie. We needed a really cool Dark Tower movie, and I don't think we got it.
Well, Paul Giamatti and
It was a great
Blasting Babies.
Yeah,
like that. That's like, if you haven't seen Shoot 'em Up,
it's a lot of
Did you
fun.
notice at the end of the film, at the Majestic Theater, there was a spaghetti western festival?
Right.
So,
yeah, Liz and I both caught that.
We're like,
Hey.
I want to watch that.
Yeah.
I think overall, if you look at the Dark Tower for what works, again, the action is great, and you've got two great leading men who, again, one completely surprises you as being a good villain, and in fact, I think the best line is when he's calling out the mother. A little bit of a spoiler, but he's calling out the mother, and you sent your son. So to wherever,
to an asylum, yeah.
That was
shame
that was,
on.
No,
That's beautiful.
but he said it as nicely as he possibly could, which is what makes Matthew McConaughey so good as an evil guy.
But he also said it as a command, because throughout the whole movie he's issuing almost spells as a command.
Right.
And he remember the emphasis on that line was shame on you.
Right.
And it was the command to make her feel that shame.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the image of a devil, remember the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, End of Times or End of Days?
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
But
with Kevin Pollak as the turn.
Right.
Yeah.
But the guy that played the devil, the Irish actor that I can't.
Patrick Byrne?
No, not
Gabriel.
Patrick.
Gabriel Byrne.
Gabriel Byrne.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I had the Byrne part.
I know my Irish actors.
Okay, good. We hope so since you're going there. But him walking through and messing with people, just very devilish and doing that. He was diabolical and looked like he enjoyed it way too much. Matthew McConaughey kind of takes it back a little bit as if he has his own little weird code that he is scolding people, that he's not really all evil, it's just a different side, and you should believe in what I believe.
A little more nuanced.
Right, exactly. So I think that's kind of neat, because you expect the devil just to I don't really give a crap, I'm just going to mess with people for the sake of messing with people.
Death always wins.
And it really isn't about that with him. He is very much the yin to,
The gunslinger's
right, exactly.
He has a goal that he's trying to bring about because he believes it's the right thing to do.
Right. He's not like some basic nihilist where I don't really believe anything and I just want to, cause havoc. I have my own set of rules, my own code of honor, which is opposite of yours, and that's the way it has to be. So that's kind of what I picked up.
This, to me, was the greatest version of the flop of The Last Action Hero. It was this, Last Action Hero. Last Action Hero was a movie where they went from one world to another one. You had some misunderstanding of not getting in the other world where there was a little bit of comedy with it. You had a truly evil character you had to contend with.
Now I possess power, real power. Greatest action hero.
Jack Slater.
It's magic, and it really works.
And better than real.
You really believe that you're inside a movie, don't you?
Yes! The bad guys are in there. I've seen it. On screen.
Could I speak to the drug dealer of the house, please? Have a nice day.
Everybody down! Now! In this world, the bad guys can win!
Does that make Charles Dance the Man in Black?
Yes.
Wow.
Maybe.
I could live with that, actually.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of disappointed he died on Game of Thrones. I like that guy. Not the character so much, but you know.
Yeah.
So the great actors, and you kind of just want more meat in the.
Yeah, very much so.
More than 90 minutes, maybe a series,
Nobody
TV
can,
series or something.
yeah, nobody can deny that Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey brought it. They have basically saved that movie.
Yeah, you lost them though if you make that a TV show.
Right.
There's no way you can afford
true,
either
but you
of them.
can.
Well, maybe not Idris Elba.
I mean, he's still doing Luther.
Well, Matthew McConaughey.
Well, Matthew McConaughey did
Yeah.
True Detectives.
You know what? I think HBO has been missing
They got
Stringer
money.
Bell type of characters. So I think they can lure him
I think
back.
everyone who watches TV misses Stringer Bell.
Very
If you
true.
can do a
very
Lincoln
true.
commercial, you can do a good Stephen King.
Well, but it's also going to, it comes down to money and stuff. But my point about Idris Elba is, has he ever done anything bad? Name one thing that he has been bad at.
He's even a DJ, and I'm sure he's good at that.
Well, we know he's good at that.
Anyone with an iPod is a DJ. Okay, let's.
Well, wait a minute. Wait, why not?
I'm gonna refute that. I suck at a DJ.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
terrible. But yeah, no, I have be hard pressed to say anything I've ever seen him in. And I've been a big fan of Idris Elba ever since I saw the first season of Luther. So yeah, I mean, he does a great job. I mean, with what they are given, they do a fantastic job. I just wish they were given more, and that's all I keep coming back
That's
to.
the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just where we keep.
Well,
coming.
I think the novel, and that's the problem when you adapt novels, which is why I think you have an Academy Award for adaptation, and you have an Academy Award from you wrote from scratch.
Well, and Mark and I talk about this all the time, and you talk about how Game of Thrones, they do the season per book, and how I think that we should do that with Tom Clancy's books. Whether it's Amazon Prime or Netflix or Cinemax or Showtime or HBO or whoever. But I think this series really lends itself to that treatment. And I just wish they had given themselves at least another hour. I mean, we would have been fine sitting in that theater for 2.5, 3 hours if it gave us more meat on the bones.
You have to explain the mythology behind this. You have to have a backstory, all of it to explain why we're there, what the Dark Tower is. Because, and here's something for people who haven't read the books. There's a whole little organization and stuff when it comes to the gunslingers. There's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more to who the Man in Black / Walter is, and how he's really attached to Idris Elba.
And he had that little moment that you can tell there was obviously a whole lot more stuff in the script.
Exactly.
They forged the revolvers from
Excalibur.
It was, in their land they called it Excalibur.
How can
footnote?
Yeah, how can you tease me with that and not go into more about it?
Right.
So
yeah. So I mean, if you're not,
shame, Matt. You thought that'd be all right. It was not all right.
If you're not going to take the time to explain the mythology, in a movie,
what's the point of telling a mythological story?
Honestly, I would have just been happier instead of calling this the Dark Tower, the Gunslinger. Oh, and there's some little stuff about a tower, an evil man in black. I'm like, great, you've basically told an old Western.
2 guys to fight for the end of the world.
Right. So my question is, if they do this, does one of them get the prize, whatever that may be?
Oh, God.
You said,
neither of them were getting killed, so nobody took a
Nobody
shot.
had a sword. And Idris Elba's shot went through the exhaust port, right through the main port, and blew up the Death Star. So,
although he did have his use the Force moment.
Yeah.
They all like him.
So
now, I just think the Dark Tower. You should have just skipped the movie, or at least made it like a cable TV movie, and then that'd be your pilot. Kind of like what Battlestar Galactica did, where they had right. But Battlestar Galactica, when it came out on the Sci-Fi Channel, they had a whole little 4-hour miniseries to set everything up, and then they went straight into the series.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. Maybe there's still time.
Well, hopefully.
Maybe they'll reach this.
Well, it's Hollywood. They reboot everything, so don't worry about it. Give it 5 years, it'll be on something else.
Please make it a TV series.
For me personally,
it'll be a Disney musical.
If we talk about how to rate this movie, for me personally, it's not worth the full price movie ticket. Maybe a matinee, maybe just wait till you can rent it. But if I have to give it a final grade, I will give it a 7 as an okay movie for the action. I will do that. If you're a Stephen King fan wanting a little bit more from the Dark Tower series, then yes, that grade's too high and it's more like a 5. But I want people to kind of know. So with those two numbers, we'll go with the middle, and I'll just give it an even 6.
Good.
I know,
like
and figure out
behind that.
I can live with a 6 because it's not a movie for Dark Tower fans, but it still features 2 really good actors doing incredibly well with what they were given.
It's an adequate enough movie that if you want to rent it for a few bucks or
pick it up on Redbox, whatever.
Exactly, it's worth watching once. That's how I do it.
I would have given it a 6 overall, but being that you had Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey doing really great performances, and then your main star, who's typically almost unknown, hanging with them.
He's good.
Like punch for punch.
He was good.
That's a good point.
He hung. I mean, I can't think of the name of the actor at the moment.
He doesn't have a name right now.
He's growing to be a name.
Well, he will on Monday, but
it's the web. They may be hating on him. Don't let him hate on you, kid. You kicked ass.
Yeah,
he was good. Usually I don't like kids, but that kid was good.
No,
he hung.
He did a fine
shot for shot, line for line, punch for punch, with some serious people.
What final grade would you give the Dark Tower?
I think because of the kid, a 7. I would have given it a 6, but they were great. The kid bumps it up to a 7 because I think he really did kind of pull off a great. And there were a few good moments with other ancillary characters.
Sure.
I mean, Earl Haley.
Oh, Jackie Earl Haley.
Jackie Earl Haley. I love that.
I love him in anything.
I'm a Facebook friend of his or whatever, and that haircut and the buzzed head on pictures for him threw me off for a really long time. Now I know why they existed.
Yeah. Brendan, you stick with a 6?
I'm going to stick with a 6. I do agree with you. The kid did a fantastic job. Yeah. I just don't think overall the movie warranted anything higher than a 6.
Yeah.
And that's not the kid's fault. It's not Matthew McConaughey's fault. It's not Idris Elba's fault. It's definitely the fault of the screenwriters and the storytellers.
It was a bad adaptation.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's hard. Can I give it a 6.5?
In my world, but not his world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean the acting was so strong, and that was so flawless. But you're right. I just wanted to see more. I wanted to know more. Someone who has not read the books, does not know much about it.
Yeah, we were talking about it before, and I think there wasn't any character development. There wasn't any story development. It wasn't even plot. It was a plot outline.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a Cliff's Notes.
It was plot-ish.
Well, I think
it was plot-like. It was plot-like.
I think we've all kind of hit the nail on the head about the range of movie it is.
Yeah.
It's adequate to okay, but that's all it's ever going to be for an hour and a half. So.
But if you're a huge Stephen King fan, man, watch this thing on video, get crazy drunk, and you'll probably really enjoy it.
Maybe you'll at least cut.
Right, you'll enjoy the gunfights.
Oh, and have hot dogs.
Right. And with that said, we'll be right back.
I'm Fritz Rahr at Rahr & Sons Brewery in Fort Worth, Texas. My family's brewery and malt house back in the day was called the William Rahr Sons Company, and I wanted something along those same traditional lines. That's how we picked Rahr & Sons. it's really neat because the people that are here, they are my extended family because we're around each other almost 24/7, 7 days a week.
We're a small company and everybody wears a lot of hats around here. My official title on my business card is beer peddler.
And for people like us at the brewery who really, really love being around the craft beer industry, the craft beer culture, this is what it's all about, is being associated with something like Rar & Sons, and then of course having the hospitality time when people come into the brewery and drink the product.
When we first opened up the brewery to the public, I thought that was really cool to be able to come and see where the beer is made. It's fun, everybody's laughing, having a good time, everybody's got a beer in their hand.
You know, here we are today and we have tanks along the walls, and in the back of my mind, 7 years ago, I actually had visions of that, you know, dreaming about it, daydreaming about it, and now it's actually here. So I think that's really neat.
This beer, I mean, I kind of jokingly say we make it with love, but we do. I mean, we're making beer by hand and you can really taste the difference.
It's about putting out a good product. It's about, you know, experimenting and try to create something that's unique, that people enjoy and love.
Our next movie is Atomic Blonde, one of the best action movies of 2017, and yet another prime example of why Charlize Theron might just be the most beautiful woman in the world. I have to tell you guys, I had so much fun watching this movie.
You did.
Yeah. Liz was there. Yeah. I mean, just a great. I mean, if we talk about like a great action movie, you know, spy thriller, you couldn't have done it any better, especially with it being a period piece at the end of the, you know, the fall of the Berlin Wall, put against this great '80s soundtrack. And Charlize Theron, she brung it. I mean, with as much work as she put into learning fight moves and her stunt, I mean, it was just a...
Even when they were shooting this film, I loved her Instagram photos, all the bruises.
Yeah.
And she actually mentioned how she had to buy a lot of the stuntmen drinks because she actually hit them.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, she goes, they say it didn't hurt, but I think they're just saying that because I'm a woman.
I would say that because it's Charlize Theron.
Right.
I would say it didn't hurt because it was Charlize Theron and because I wouldn't mind if she hit me.
Yeah. Or bought me a drink.
Do it again! Yeah. Right. So, but no, seriously, that movie, you know, you hit two of my favorite points. In fact, there was the backdrop of the whole events happening as the Berlin Wall fell, which you know, we all lived through that. We were all in grade school or middle school, right. And you know, it was very big news, and it was on while we were in school. And then, of course, like you said, that '80s soundtrack, which was the best soundtrack I've heard since Grosse Pointe Blank. So, you know, it really was. True. It was just a lot of fun. That's what it was. It was a lot of fun, and it was a really well done movie.
Now, I mean, I'm never going to be able to listen to, you know, Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics without imagining Charlize Theron, you know, throwing somebody into a wall. So.
And you're bothered by that?
No, not at all. Actually, no.
That is his Sweet Dreams.
This is Sweet Dreams.
This is a very good dream. But no, I mean, it's not like the story is particularly original. You know, spy does something bad, gets scolded by the organization they work for. You're trying to find a double agent. It's the fact that you're in this backdrop of all this chaos with different groups after you, you know, and you have your James Bond-esque type love scene. We're not going to actually give that away on the show. All I have to say is...
give away the...
But I mean, again, I mean, we've seen these type of stories, and I don't know if I don't think it has to be original. I think it works. No, I mean, it really doesn't. Well, I mean, James Bond does the same stuff over and over, and we still...
Which, by the way, I would like to say to Barbara Broccoli, who, is, for those of you who don't know, is the producer of the James Bond movies. This is why we don't need a female James Bond.
Right.
Because we have, and for people who are going to say, oh, well, we've got a female doctor now. Well, yeah, the doctor constantly regenerates. That works within the story. We don't need a female James Bond because that's just paying lip service. Create a new character. Create a new franchise.
Right.
Actually pay service and homage to the great female actors and fans out there and give them their own character. And I think they did that with this.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, is there any reason that we can't have a sequel for the way this movie ended? Or
Not at all.
Yeah, you can't make a series out of this?
Because, I mean, hey, look at the events in the early 90s. You could send her to the G7 where Boris Yeltsin showed up looking like Seagram 7. It'd be fantastic.
Time, David. Don't shoot. I've got your shoe.
There's a lot of stuff you can do in the early 90s. You got the Gulf War right around the corner. There's plenty of things you could do.
She could finish out Apartheid, which was from her own country, and they had the nice little nod at the very beginning.
Wow,
that's a great call.
Absolutely.
I would actually like to see that film more.
Yeah.
I'm a little more cynical about this film.
Really?
Yeah, and I honestly can't pinpoint what I don't like about it. I mean, the action is fantastic. I love Charlize. I mean, we got to meet her.
Okay, I'm just glad you're not saying anything bad about her. I mean,
no, absolutely not. I thought and after what you had said, I mean, I think it's great that she did her own stuff and she was really dedicated.
Like something like
90%
of her own stunts,
But for me, some of it was a little too the soundtrack was fantastic, but it was a little annoying that look at me, I'm such a great soundtrack, and it's like when you have that kind of vault and that kind of access, and you can play with that, it's not that difficult to.
Well,
to really
it's not Baby Driver where you particularly
consistently chosen.
Yeah, and maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's because I'd seen Baby Driver and.
I can understand.
Well, this was all music to fit the time too.
Yeah.
This is all stuff.
But there was several, the Berlin Hush Hush song, or which is Sorry Voices Carry. Was in there more than once because of its relevance to the storyline as a whole.
And they also did multiple versions of the same song to fit different moods.
Yeah. The 99 Love Balloons. Yeah.
Which I hate that song.
Now,
I didn't hate it in this movie though. But it was
I like the slower paced version of it that they did.
Yeah.
Well, no, it would have been funny doing the
Yeah.
Now I will say there are two things. There's one thing that I absolutely particularly love about kind of old school espionage when you're dealing with the hacker dude. That she does something to take out the view of the sniper. The whole umbrella scene and how perfectly choreographed that was just great. But the other side of it too is, as much as I love James McAvoy and he was great actor, I also thought it was kind of obvious, who the true villain really was.
Maybe that's what bothered me too. It was too obvious. A lot of that stuff was obvious. I mean, except for the twist at the end, which we're not going to reveal.
That one we won't spoil. But I think that made up for it.
This film had smart twists and turns, though.
Sure.
It truly was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy on crack.
Yeah.
I would have said mescaline, but sure.
Right. It's like you took the movie Crank and mixed it with Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That's what you got.
Crank.
Yeah. That's true.
It is Berlin in the 90s. I really liked every angle, including what was quite obviously the same set that they shot Bridge of Spies on.
Right.
And then you have the John Goodman line where he says, you better take a picture because it's going to be something different next week.
That was a good
it's
line.
probably because they were the week after Bridge of Spies shooting on that same set, and because it was.
There, yeah. Here's the thing about Atomic Blonde: it doesn't have to be a great drama. It doesn't even have to be the perfect spy thriller. Okay, it works because of the cast that you have, because of Charlize Theron and how much work she put into this film. Okay. That, to me, like you pointed out, really does rival a James Bond type, character. And you put the right music to it, you have a great, fun summer action movie that you're going to laugh, that you're going to, enjoy the drama, and the action scenes are just fantastic.
Yeah, there's a few action scenes where I jumped in my seat and I was like, ooh.
Oh, the whole hotel scene.
Yeah.
Where they're all, I was just like,
Or the girl on girl scene. That was a great action. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Well, I would never deny it.
That was the point.
How are you gonna tell us to get our mind out of the gutter after you put it there?
Right.
You were like, here, lead the horse to
and
water.
now you have the attention of every little young college kid. Wait.
Charlize Theron is in my list of 10 women that the camera absolutely does no justice to. You meet them in person, and you're like, how did no camera ever catch how truly beautiful you are? Yeah, and had a fever of 102.
Now, with all that I said about this movie, that I mean, again, it's nothing original. We've seen this kind of stuff before. It was just a fun action movie. I honestly, I'm going to give this movie an 8 for the sheer fact that yes, there's things that I can nitpick, you know, things that are obvious, whatever. But it's fun. I will definitely watch it again. I will listen to the soundtrack again, and that's why you get an 8. That's why it's a great movie for me.
I'm gonna give it a 7. And that's being generous. I mean,
really?
Okay, maybe I just have to watch it again. I feel like it was too.
Look, if you're really
like I've seen
starting to complain about Charlize Theron that she's not as
complaining about her.
She's so perfect that I'm willing to watch Sweet November, and that's a terrible movie.
Oh.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Well, and we're going to go down that line. I'm fully ready to see the remake of The Devil's Advocate.
Right.
But I want to see Matthew McConaughey as the devil.
Brendan, what would you rate it as?
Enjoy it while it lasts, Marcus. We're going to agree here.
That's going to change the next movie.
Yeah. Okay. The whole was greater than the sum of its parts. It's an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree as well. 7.5, 8. Somewhere in that range. No, it was a great soundtrack. It was a whole lot of fun. We didn't break new ground. We didn't see anything.
Just all the parts
fight sequences to me, I could see that the John Wick guys were the ones who trained her, and that's who trained her. I found out later.
It's an enjoyable film. You will have fun with it, and you have a good cast, and that's all you need. I mean, is it a thinking man's espionage movie like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? No.
Maybe if they're on crank.
Right, exactly.
It is a thinking.
Exactly.
They're thinking real hard.
Yeah, that's all it is. Another movie that's been highly anticipated in 2017, especially for those that love war movies, and Christopher Nolan. And the movie I'm talking about is Dunkirk. It's been one of the most anticipated movies from us as a crew, and we finally get to talk about it. With a little bit of a disagreement on whether it's good or not, but we'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to start out by saying that this is just another prime example of how I think Christopher Nolan can do no wrong in a lot of ways. Especially, I know he's not a perfect director, that's not what I'm saying, but the cinematography alone in this movie just makes it a great movie. And it's worth going to the theater just to see it, just to see all the shots that he has done, especially if you're a filmmaker and stuff. But I do really, really love this as a war movie, even though it really isn't a war movie. It's more about it's a movie about survival. So,
I like the hidden heart in this film. I mean, like, I went into it having not really picked up on the tagline of the film about the, when 400,000 men needed to get home, home came to them. I didn't understand that. I hadn't seen the first film.
But I also think that with any, great war film, I mean, you talk about heart, it really is the heart of your character's, journey. But the unique thing about Dunkirk is it really isn't centered on just, you know, a few soldiers or whatever. It's every soldier because they're all in the same place. Mm-hmm. There is this sense of isolation and, you know, doing anything you can to get off.
Trepidation.
Right.
And not just the soldiers, but like the other people who came in to help rescue them. So it's really just a story also about
British civilians.
Yeah, the civilians, and that was very touching, actually.
Yeah, I figure really about, I mean, the only major character development you have is really about the father and son and the son's friend who go in their pleasure boat, rescue the soldier, and he doesn't want to go, and you're dealing with their kind of story. The actor is Mark Rylance, who, you know, won his Oscar from Bridge of Spies.
Well, yeah, but I was going to say also, you know, I mean, Cillian Murphy is the soldier that they rescue, you know, so to speak. Which, I mean, honestly, like, that was a truly amazing, connective scene. Could you imagine being the, like, lone survivor on top of your... Well, we don't know what the ship is. We only can see the little portion that's sticking out of the water that he's on. Yeah. So,
it was probably a smaller ship, but
but I mean, you know, we're not dealing with a war movie where it's dealing with some like great battle where, you know, the side you cheer for is going to win or whatever. It's about, let's get the hell out of here and we're going to survive. And oh, by the way, we're not going to send as many ships because we have to prepare for the final battle before we might get taken over by the Nazis. So
and historically, it wasn't just that. It was, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, rigmarole about the fact that why Hitler didn't go and take over those guys and why they didn't fully cut them off and why they did allow them to get back. And I looked a bunch of historical reference up after I'd seen the film, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, like, the fact that they got back kept the British as an ally and not straight up France too.
But this whole movie, I mean, it's just the sheer wide, you know, scope of it to show you kind of how big everything was. I mean, you know, for the beaches and really how the full scale of how many soldiers were trapped. And war movies aren't always about that. You know, very, very rarely do we have that.
Yeah. And
I mean,
what I like is how he has, not that it's very little dialogue, but it's every word counts in this film.
Right.
And nothing is wasted. But it's still so big and so grand, and I really appreciate when filmmakers do that.
Yeah.
When they are quiet when it needs to be quiet, and when they have to say something, they have to say, you know, they say it.
Well, I mean, for me, there's just so many things that I love about this film.
You can't just pick one thing.
But what's funny is Brendan and I went to go see it together, and we usually agree about war movies, and this is one of those few movies that we just argue about.
Okay, all right, so I'll start with what I did like. I did like the cinematography.
Gorgeous.
I absolutely loathed the score. The score
that I will give you.
The score was not a score. The score was white noise. And
to give you an eerie, uneasy feeling, which is what the soldiers had on this.
I understand the point. However, are you making a summer action movie? Are you making a summer movie, summer blockbuster, or are you making a documentary? Because if you're making a summer blockbuster, I don't want to be so uncomfortable with what amounted to an inner ear itch that I couldn't scratch. That 45 minutes into the movie, I wanted to get up and leave.
Yeah.
It made me physically uncomfortable, and not because of the subject matter, just because of that noise. It was like having your head shoved into a truck that was backing up, and that constant beeping just drilled into your. To me, it was like Chinese water torture. I was physically in pain about an hour into the movie, and I wanted to walk out.
The score is one of my major arguments too of why it's not a perfect film. And I think there's a lot to be said for having a good traditional score.
I thought Christopher Nolan could do no wrong.
I'm not saying I didn't say he was absolutely perfect. Well, but my point about the score is there are times when it's the score that carries the movie. That makes it. I think we can all agree that Pearl Harbor is an awful movie.
Great score, Hans.
Yeah, awesome score. That movie, I mean, awful movie, but the score is beautiful.
Yeah.
December 7th,
1941. A date which will live in infamy.
We are at war.
Josh Hartnett is an amazing actor.
I'm quite sure. I was on Ford Island when that was filmed. It's an abomination.
Yeah.
So,
well, but like I said, I mean, I know that we get used to it. I know that maybe it's a little too comfortable with having that great traditional score. You know, I mean, if you really sit and listen to everything that John Williams does, I mean, you very much pick up what his signature styles are in music and stuff. I don't have a problem with experimentation. I think people should stretch the imagination on that. But for something like this, yeah, I get the intensity, okay? I also got the intensity of the first 24 minutes of Saving Private Ryan when you didn't really need a score. It was just guns blazing and arms being blown off, and you're trying to hear Tom Hanks as he's commanding his soldiers up the beach. So there's different ways of approaching it. I just don't need music to I agree with you, there doesn't need to be this grinding sound to put me into that spot of what the soldiers are feeling.
I thought it added, honestly, I really felt like it. I get where you're from, but I get, and you're talking about Nazis who designed planes with wind horns to make more sound to terrify in dive bombing.
But here's the whole thing. In small snippets, that can be very effective. Through the entire movie.
Oh, I get you. I understand
it's
that.
Tiring. I couldn't justify it.
Because the sound effects specifically in that film, I thought were dead on.
The sound effects were great, and by themselves would have generated the necessary levels of anxiety required, especially with the minimal dialogue.
They'd have shot after that bird a couple more times. That was it. I was out.
Well, I think that the more that you watch Dunkirk, it may not be as bad, because you do kind of start to get used to it. However, the one time I thought this was interesting, that when it starts to turn into more of a traditional score is the moment that Tom Hardy's plane loses fuel and starts to glide along the beach.
Yeah. Can I ask something very serious about that, though? Can Tom Hardy not play a part where he covers his face up?
Well, I don't know. I mean...
What was the one?
Or is that just his greatest role?
Look, I mean, a little bit of a spoiler, but...
Because that sign that man up for Top Gun
but you know what?
now.
But wait a minute. At the very end, when he's getting captured by the Germans and he's just got that smirk on his face, like, bring it on. I did my job. I think
he was a little bit
right. I think that makes up for his face rolling.
Well, then we also had the movie where he was in the car the whole time and it was nothing but his face.
Well,
just him talking on it. So
I would love if there were some outtakes though, where he's like, "Listen, I'm Bane. We're gonna do another take. I'm Bane.
You Germans have merely adopted the air."
Back to the sound. It bothered me and it made me uncomfortable, but I like that. I like when films make me uncomfortable. And the cinematography and the rest of what was going on was so engaging that that's why it didn't bother me, because there was so much more going on that I was distracted to sit there and think, oh, the score, you know, so...
Yeah,
I think I'd have to watch it a few more times and get more used to it.
I think it probably wouldn't nearly be as bad in my living room.
Yeah.
But with, dynamic digital surround sound cranked up to 11.
The Studio Movie Grill has a great surround sound system.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, but other than that, I mean, while there isn't much character development, probably the best, epilogue was really the father explaining to the son duty and why they were going.
Where are we going? Dunkirk.
I'm not going back.
There's no hiding from this, son. We have a job to do.
Trying to make him relate to the soldier who's about ready to kill him because he wants to turn back and like damn everybody else. Everybody, all the other soldiers, even the first couple of characters that you meet, you don't really need to know much except the fact that you're just trying to get the hell out of there. But I do want to say that I think Kenneth Branagh probably has the best lines of the entire movie.
He does. And he looks so great, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Just so like...
I mean, but that's almost a guy that could sit down with the script and go, I like this line, I'm going to take that one.
Right. Right, exactly.
You know? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Branagh. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But
totally.
I think when we sit back and we kind of look at Dunkirk, you know, as a whole, and comparing it to other movies, and this is something I wanted to say to you. I know that you complain, but not every...
It's amazing.
I know, and we disagree on this. But not every war movie can be in harm's way or Master and Commander, which is two of our favorite films.
I understand that. I just don't want to feel like... the aftermath of Egon not being stopped by Venkman drilling a hole through his head.
Egon, this reminds me of the time you tried to drill a hole through your head. Remember that?
That would have worked if you hadn't stopped me.
I did actually go and watch it in harm's way the next day after we saw Dunkirk. So, I mean, kudos to you for making me, you know, reminding me again of another great, you know, war movie. One thing I want to touch on too is, because we were talking about this, is the influences that he had as a filmmaker to do this movie. You know, he had things like All Quiet on the Western Front, which is obvious, The Foreign Legion, even Alien. And you think about Alien because it is about isolation and survival.
Sure.
But the one movie that he had on his list, which I thought was just really weird, was Speed. And then you stop and think about it from like, well, it is about, it's about people trapped and trying to get away, and again, it's a form of isolation.
In the nick of time.
Well, and that's the reason that film is genius, because it is the only film that will ever be shown that provides isolation on Los Angeles freeways.
That is true. Very true. Now, in looking at Dunkirk, and I think everybody should see this film, and I think everybody should see it on the big screen to get that experience, because
70 millimeter.
There are certain films that belong on the big screen, like Ben-Hur. And I'm not talking about the crappy.
No, we're talking.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about the crappy remake they made.
I know. And Morgan Freeman unfortunately attached himself to it.
Well, every actor's got to get paid.
Yes. Morgan Freeman got paid.
But if I did that Nerd Show's review for Dunkirk, and a lot of the things that you complain about, I do too. Especially the non-linear storyline and how they jumped back and forth. But I still personally give this movie an 8 for what the story is, for the wide scope, the cinematography alone. I think Christopher Nolan did a great job with it. So, and I would definitely go see it again. So, Liz, how about you?
It's hard to give a movie a 10, so I'm not going to do that. But I do give it a 9 because it was near perfect for me. All the little things that you say you didn't like, I liked them. So, for me, it was almost perfect.
Dan?
See, I want to hear his first.
Oh, okay. All right.
I will be generous because I did like the cinematography, and I'll say it's a 6. But I can't do anything more than that for a movie that made me want to leave.
All right.
Okay.
It's still real hard. I don't want to give everything a freaking 7 tonight, you know, but 8. It was an 8.
Love it up.
It was an 8. What did I give Atomic Blonde? I gave it 8.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment.
See, that's I don't know.
Don't second guess yourself, Dan. Just stick.
That was your first instinct.
Yeah. B, I can't.
Well, an 8 is B. That's
right. I was thinking that don't second guess myself on a Scantron form.
And there you have it, fans. Our scores for Dunkirk and why you should see it. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
after 10 o'clock. You know what that means?
It's late night at Old Chicago.
PBRs.
$2.
Craft beers. $3. Margaritas.
$4.
Top shelf, you call it $5. And it gets even better. All right size appetizers, just $2. Wings, pepperoni rolls, and more, just $2. What more do you need? Old Chicago, the right way to late night.
Forgot that feeling, the sun in my face, it's so well needed. Life will take care of the rest. Biking alone.
Our next movie is Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets by Luc Besson, who is the same director that did Fifth Element and Lucy. And if you're expecting this movie to be The Fifth Element, I hate to say it, but you're going to be sadly disappointed. I'm not going to say that this movie was all out terrible, Nicolas Cage left behind terrible, but it wasn't what it could have been. And I understand that it might be more popular in Europe, but when we watched it, it was just kind of a convoluted story that looked really, really good and dealt with probably bad casting. And I'm really talking about the lead guy, Dane DeHaan, and I'm not complaining about him as an actor because he's been great in other movies. A Place Beyond the Pines is a fantastic movie.
But he wasn't expected to carry that film either.
No, and I think, you know what, that's kind of funny. I think they were trying to bring in enough people to help carry that filmmaking
well
around.
Cara Delevingne is gorgeous. I could look at her all day long.
Sure.
Those eyebrows and legs are awesome.
Sure. But you got to be more than gorgeous.
She wasn't believable as his like she was going to leave him for Taylor Swift. I mean, let's get serious.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, you have this great action movie with these two agents that are supposed to be in love, and you're right. You're talking about this is not Chris Pine, Gal Gadot type chemistry.
This is the Shermanator and the girl from Europe in American Pie.
Well, I mean, she is, yes, and he's like, marry me, and she's like, no, and I'm like, everybody in the audience is like, yeah, like her, no.
Don't do it.
Right. You know, there were a lot of things, you know, we always measure Luc Besson with The Fifth Element because it just had everything working for it. This is a great action movie, and, you know, you do believe Bruce Willis and Mila Jovovich could, you know, get together, and with her being the perfect being and whatnot.
And somehow, Chris Tucker just seems to be the glue of all the weirdness.
Come on, what are you looking for?
This is it.
I'll be over here.
Let's go.
You know, for him to like try to live up to that, you know.
But you know, he's had other good movies since that. I mean, you know, Kiss of the Dragon with Jet Li is a great action flick. It's not The Fifth Element, but it's a great action flick.
You had to say that it's not The Fifth Element.
But nothing is. Nothing ever will be.
No, but we always expect that, especially if it's a sci-fi movie. But again, it does come down to casting, and you have to find the right leading man that's tough and believable. And Dane DeHaan is just not that. Again, you're the quirky
George
sidekick.
Lazenby.
Really?
Wouldn't go that
yeah, I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, George Lazenby was a fine actor. He was just completely miscast and bombed.
Well...
No, he just drank with the right people at the right time. That's
a whole other argument for another time.
That's an entirely different broccoli conversation than...
There's a point in Valerian where he's taught, you know, she's scolding him for all the women that he slept with, and I'm like, there's no way you would have pulled that off. You might have gotten the fat friend that's lonely.
Truly, I would have said, well, then why'd you wear that bikini when we went on vacation?
Yeah. It just... you got clunky dialogue. You don't have a believable couple as your leads. She was a lot better than I thought. She did a great job.
She's wonderful as Temptress. Hey, a lot of people didn't like her. I thought she was great.
You know, this is starting to sound a lot like episode 2.
Well,
Attack of the Clones.
I'm not saying that he's that creepy Anakin Skywalker stalker.
No, I'm just saying,
but
just mismatched couple, bad dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't hate seeing this film in French. Not even with subtitles, just in French.
Right.
I think it might play considerably better. And I'm a person who don't want to be a purist or anything. It might have been when I first discovered marijuana, but I enjoyed watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in Mandarin.
Right.
And not with subtitles. It made more sense to me.
I'm the same way with Le Pacte de Loup, the Brotherhood of the Wolf. But
another amazing film in its native language.
But it's also amazing even in English subtitles, and that's the thing. It carries over, and I don't think if the movie's lost in translation, the movie's probably lost.
I honestly think, I mean, I hate to keep harping on this, but I think if they had found the right actor to be the male lead, I mean, Andrew Garfield would have been great. If he would have been a lot better in this movie than, being in the Spider-Man, the 2 movies that were rebooted that didn't need to be. But there's a ton of people. In fact, I walked out saying...
This film is bankable.
Right. But I also walked out saying that, Richard Madden from Game of Thrones would have been great in this role.
Yeah, Robb Stark, absolutely.
Yeah. Believable, lovable, great comedy. It's just the
and he could have pulled off the suave agent a hell of a lot more.
Absolutely. So if you're not going to find the right leading man, I'm sorry, but we don't live in a day and age where the nerdy, quirky guy is always going to save the day. Now I love new guy with DJ Qualls and Eddie Griffin and all that, but Undercover Brother can only do so much to make you a leading man.
Yeah.
And that's just my point.
Just certain films have to have that quality.
The movie, I mean, it had a lot of other problems, but it would have been a lot better if it had a different casting choice. So with that said,
that matters.
It does. I can only really truly give this movie a 6. I mean, it's an okay, adequate. Well, I know.
You sound like you're being generous there.
I probably am. but that's how I look at it. I mean, I'd probably watch it again for free on cable, but it's not anything I would go to the theater to see. Not anything that I was truly impressed with. In fact, I'd rather just watch Scarlett Johansson and Lucy again.
I would be willing to say, though, if you're going to watch this at home, which is where I think it really belongs on video at home, probably.
In the secrecy of your house.
Break out a big-ass TV for it, though. Because the visual imagery, if you're into that kind of space, then go see it in the theater. See it early on a Saturday.
Right.
Or even better on a Tuesday.
Don't pay a whole lot of money.
Wait for the dollar.
Right.
Wait, this would be an amazing film in the dollar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, they're like $2.50 now.
Because honestly, if I'm going to wait for it to get home, I'm just going to pop in my Blu-ray of Fifth Element.
Exactly. That's very true. Dan, what score would you give it?
I walked out. I remember we walked out, and I said, because I was expecting a Fifth Element. I wanted to just lamb blast this thing. I said 4 or 5 walking out of the film. I would say 6 now. Seeing the trailer again, there were things that I remembered that I really did kind of enjoy, but I'm still not going to get anywhere near some of these.
I think 6 is a very fair score with this movie. Yeah. All right. We'll be back in a moment with our next
and we're shooting the Movie Roundtable tonight here at the Old Chicago Tap Room in Dallas, Texas. So Austin, tell us a little bit about what we're drinking tonight.
We've got Summertime Wheat, which is our German Hefeweizen, and our Fort Worth, which is kind of our take on a session ale, just light, easy drinking with a lot of lemon and lime, citrus flavor.
And I'm a big fan of it just because it's you guys' little ode to the USS Fort Worth, and myself being a Navy vet, I saw it in town, so that was awesome. So let's take a little taste of these here. That's really good beer, really easy drinking for the Texas heat, so can't beat it. What else you guys got going on at RAR coming up soon?
Coming up soon, probably Oktoberfest will drop soon, and also Pumpkin Ale.
Pumpkin Ale, fantastic. All right, I'm a big fan of the Oktoberfest beers. So are you guys doing a Meritzen, or are you guys doing a Fest beer?
Yeah, it's always been a Meritzen.
Meritzen, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming out and sponsoring the show tonight. Wish you guys the best of luck in the future and best of success, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for the show, folks, and have a great day.
sees me, I'm losing every battle.
Our next movie is a great little indie flick that was shot secretly on location here in Dallas. So there's a lot of labor of love for those of us that reside in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the movie I'm referring to is A Ghost Story, which finally got a wider release in theaters. And this movie is directed by a Texas director, David Lowery, and there's, people in it that you will recognize. Some actors, an Oscar winner, Casey Affleck, and a friend of our shows, which had a really great scene. So, but
Rooney Mara. She's your friend.
She should be. But yeah, we talk about A Ghost Story. This is just a great little indie flick that I think everybody should see. It may never win an Oscar, it may never make millions of dollars, but I think that people will walk away after seeing this with this great experience of, how love should be, how love transcends space and time, and just kind of a unique perspective on dealing with the dead and ghosts and stuff like that. I mean, hence the title, A Ghost Story. Now, I know for Liz and I, we actually shot together at the Oak Cliff Film Festival, which was its Texas premiere.
Yeah.
And it was, it was standing room only. I've never seen the Texas theater that, waiting to see a movie. Not even the 35th anniversary of the Blues Brothers with John Landis.
John Landis, right?
Right.
It was so packed, they're doing it again. August 4th, I think.
Yeah. Now, again, this is an artistic film. I'm not gonna, we shouldn't lie to an audience or tell them anything different.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, we don't do that on this show. But it's this great little artistic film.
It does have the pacing of 8 Embodied Saints. If you are a David Lowery fan, you will.
Absolutely. And when I'm not talking about seeing the remake of Pete's Dragon, which he did, but
and I thought it wonderful.
Right, I agree. But getting into A Ghost Story, I really loved everything about it except for just a few little minor things that I could only, just nitpick and complain about. But the unique idea of, there's a ghost that's watching over this house and refuses to leave, but it's a ghost that we see in a white sheet, which you're like, well, that's not really how it goes. That's a child's ghost.
That's Casper.
Right, exactly. And yet, that's that way we look at it.
Yeah.
But of course you're dealing with grief, and you're dealing with it in a very real, I'm not saying sensible, but just a very common way, like Rooney Mara when she eats an entire pie in the movie.
She's got one.
She does. But is there really anything truly that you can fault from this film?
No, and you buy into the whole ghost wearing just a sheet thing because the performances are so strong. The story is so unique and experimental and interesting, and you're just really in it.
Yeah.
You don't know, you recognize so many things that you don't understand what's going on, but you're like, there's something there.
Yeah, I think there's that quick moment where you laugh for a moment about, oh, it's a ghost in a white sheet.
And there's some funny moments with the ghost and the ghost in the other house.
Right, when they're communicating with one another.
But that's a moment.
Yeah.
It lingers long enough for the effect to take over.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things to me.
But that's what I'm saying is you have this. It's humorous, and then it becomes adorable and turns. Right.
There's and then the second half, you're just, it's a different kind of pacing, and it's a different kind of momentum.
You have that emotional. You start to develop that emotional connection to the ghost, and
it stops kind of becoming a love story and more of a story about really the sci-fi and the time.
Right.
And that
time and
second
space.
half. Yeah.
And how we deal with grief.
Yeah.
So there doesn't have to be a lot of dialogue. It gets it's like a great silent film or experimental play, or like a Strindberg play, where really it's all about facial expressions and conveying that without a lot of sound. That's what I like.
Yeah. Because the ghost facial expressions were
right.
amazing.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm trying to make this great artistic point, and like.
I know. I got
it. That is one of those things we've said many times, or at least a couple of times with this show, that there are films when they are done on a significantly lower budget that there are times that I'm like, Hollywood, catch the hell up, and realize that there are a ton of people out there with other stories. We don't need to remake another film for the 4th time.
Right.
Or
we need to
5th, Michael.
Or 5th, or 7th, or 20th, or Fast and the Furious nothing.
Yeah, look at Clerks. What was that? $10,000 to make Clerks?
Over $27,000. Yeah.
Okay, $27,000.
Well,
So
I've
they spent
said,
more on the soundtrack.
Yeah, films that I see that are done for the price of a good luxury used car. I mean, now this luxury car is a Lamborghini, but it's still a little used.
Right.
You know, like
slightly used.
Yeah. It's a slightly used Lamborghini.
If I have to make a minor complaint about this film, there are moments that I think the camera lingers way too long, and I get why they do it. I absolutely do. I mean, we were talking about it before the show. I don't need to see Rooney Mara eat the entire pie like in a 5-minute stretch here. Okay, we could have cut away and gotten to the point, and it was just a very long camera shot of just the two main characters lying in bed together, but again, I understand what they're trying to do. You know, you're dealing with time and space. It's just sitting there that long with that much quiet. It's like, no, I can't really do that. But it's beautiful in a very artistic way.
And he explained why the whole pie scene as well.
Right, and
the connection and grief.
Right.
And he wanted to let her make the decision of.
Right.
You know.
I just, it's got to be a very, very rarely could I ever give something like a perfect 10, and that had to be my nitpick about it. Is I did feel kind of like, okay, enough is enough. I'm too impatient. Let's move on here.
You're like, I would have been done in 3 minutes.
But what?
Just offer me a slice.
Yeah,
you know?
but one of the great things too was the use of music. You know, and of course, being able to share that through headphones, like you're listening to, like on a splitter and an iPod together, and it just.
Very touching.
Yeah, everything. Kudos to David Lowery.
The use of music and then the use of silence.
Yeah, it's a great balancing act. So,
I know personally that David Lowery is a pretty big sports fan, and I'm fully ready for him to do the Tom Brady 30 for 30 of GOAT story.
Now I do. It's terrible. I do want to point out real quick before we get to our final grades on a ghost story. A friend of our show, Liz Franku, who we've all interviewed multiple times with our outlets,
or worked with at my outlet,
or worked with, who had her one really great scene with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, and it was very funny. I can't see her just being like that. It's just because she's so lovable and wonderful. But the scene worked. It was funny and added a sense of, a great sense of humor to it.
She made the pie.
And she made the pie.
And you've never really seen her go, what do you mean you didn't hit record?
Yeah. For me, again, it's minor nitpicking about this film, but I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's just something I would definitely watch again. I would fast forward through the lingering parts now because
or go get pie.
Or go get pie.
Or at least share the pie with her, share the experience.
Right, exactly. But yeah,
it's an idea.
It's a 9 for me, easily, just how beautiful this movie is.
Yeah. Me? I would have to say a 9 too. I mean, I am very impressed with what he did with such a little budget and just make this beautiful story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 9.
Dan?
I would have to say 8, 9. Yeah.
Pick one.
There's not really much disagreement with
how too many 8s, so I'm going to give him a 9. I didn't give anybody a 9. And as an independent film, as a film that is off the beaten path of a typical Hollywood.
Right. And I really do hope it gets awards, and I mean, I would personally love to see this get nominated for an Oscar.
I think it's going to make serious waves in the Independent Spirit Awards.
Right, as well it should. But I encourage moviegoers out there, even if it's just a matinee or whatever, go see this film. You're not going to be disappointed. It's not a waste of money at all. I think there will be moments that you'll kind of shed a tear, and those definitely moments that that you will laugh.
Take mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. They'll think you're cool.
Right.
You've seen something they didn't know to see, and they'll like. They will like.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching the Movie Roundtable. Until the next time, good night, and have fun at the movies.
Cheers.
Cheers.